Hold up.
Hey everybody, Coach Adam Fight here with another episode of our Conversations with Coaches. Today we are joined by our co-host, Dr. Kathleen Milano. Say hi, Dr. Milano.
What's up, everybody?
And we've also got Coach Anna Steinman. Give you a shout out right there, Coach Anna.
Hey, everyone.
And Coach Mike Cerasuolo. How you doing there, Coach C?
Doing great, thanks. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Really, just to kind of go off what you were saying there a little bit, appreciate the fact what you guys are doing and putting together as, the exercise science and sports psychology program. I think it means a lot to the athletes to provide some resources and some tools to put in their tool belt to be successful on and off the field. And obviously we're all off the field right now in tracks and courses and everything else. So whatever we can do to help them through this time, I think it's going to be beneficial. And like I said, really appreciate what you guys are doing specifically to help the athletes.
Well, we appreciate that, Coach, and appreciate obviously all of you and what you both do for our 600 plus student athletes. And to provide a little bit of a context before I shift it over to Dr. Milano in terms of really the goal of today's session and really what we're trying to do with athletics. Coach Mike Cerasuolo is the head football coach at Springfield College. Coach, you just finished your 4th year at the helm, correct?
Correct.
And you have been at Springfield for roughly how long? I know it's been a little bit more than the digits on my fingers.
Yeah, got back in 2001 and graduated here in '93, and then got back in 2001 after a couple stints at some different places. But was very fortunate to get hired back by Coach DeLong, and then was the offensive coordinator for about 14 years, and then now the head coach for 14, 15 years, and now the head coach for the last 4.
Awesome. And Coach Simon, I know we got to Springfield my second tenure, roughly about the same time. I know we met a few years ago. You are going to be in your 4th year, correct? And your experiences prior to that, where have they led you?
So I started here in the fall of 2016. Came here was doing a year in Indiana, and prior to that was in Maryland at Salisbury University. So this will be the end of year 4. And then really started with the combining of both the men's and the women's programs together.
Awesome. And I forgot to note here, unfortunately, Coach Steinman is the head men's and women's cross country coach, as well as assistant track and field. Did I miss anything else, Coach? Because I know you got a lot of events going on. There's a lot of different pieces to the track and field puzzle. Does that cover it?
No, that's perfect.
Okay. Awesome. Well, hey, I'm going to kick it over to Dr. Milano. And if you're just joining us for the first time, or maybe you caught us a little bit in the last time, really what the goal of these conversations with our coaches, with student athletes, and really our support staff at the college, and really where we're going and the primary purpose of what we're trying to do here. So Dr. Milano, we'll bring it to you.
All right. Thanks, Adam. Yeah, so we started this whole thing off with talking about habits and routine, trying to help us develop a little bit of normalcy with this chaos that's going on. And we're now segueing into this period of time where we feel like we've hit a little bit of a rhythm. We have a little bit of a new norm. And now we're focusing on perceptions and outlook and how we're managing in this new space and how that's going to shape what we do now and what we do in the future. And so our ultimate goal of this whole project is to help create a community for our athletes, coaches, Springfield administrators, anybody in our community to kind of come for support, resources, various tools, more one-on-one consulting. But what this is doing, these recorded sessions, these podcast-like sessions do, is kind of follow up on a live Zoom session. And our previous live Zoom session where we had athletes and coaches join was focused on how the words that we use actually shape our outlook. And so that's going to be the core focus of what we do today, but more in the latter half of our conversation. We'll start with a little bit of just a check-in with you all to see how you all are doing. And Adam's gonna start us off. So if y'all are ready.
All right. Well, I appreciate the serve, Dr. Milano. Let's start with a general check-in, right? We won't dive into too much details, but Coach Steinman, how are you doing amongst the chaos and the current normal, as we call it, at Springfield right now?
Yeah, so I'm doing well. I think I've gotten myself into a pretty good routine with this new normal. At times, it's not quite fun being by yourself and not having that face-to-face conversations with people. But I guess Zoom is working out pretty well and doing the trick for that. But I think we've also been, except for I guess today because it's raining out, but we've been really fortunate to have nice weather. And for me, I think what's keeping me in my routine and doing well during this time is being able to just get outside and stay busy that way also. So, but yeah, no, things are going well, and hopefully we get through this soon.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And Coach, I know you're a parent, and we just heard from the governor that school for our children is now closed for the rest of the school year this year. So it may affect your answer, but how are you doing now?
I was really excited to hear the governor say that. I think more remote learning that we can do, and the more opportunities that I don't even know how to solve a math problem anymore with what they're doing and stuff. And then I just rely on my cell phone. So then just jump on that, and that has all the answers on it. So, no, I'm doing great. We kind of created a culture within the program as far as this right here, right now mentality, and hey, this is where we're at right now. So let's make the most of where we're at, and not dwell on the past or anything else like that. And let's focus on the future and how we can grow throughout this time period, because we do have so much time by ourselves for the most part, that I think you can learn a lot about yourself and find out who you truly are. And I'm always amazed because when I come into work in the morning, Anna's it seems like every time I see her running, and she doesn't have any earbuds in or anything else like this. So this is ideal for her. She's self-isolated and probably just goes on 20-mile runs every day. So, and just creates a new world in her mind. And so we're gonna have her come in and talk about mental toughness, because whenever you can run for that period of time and be able to sustain it without diving deep into some random thoughts, I'm sure it takes quite a bit. So, but overall, I think, again, I think we're doing great, you know, and I think we can grow a lot from this. We told our team kind of, for lack of better words, embrace the suck and find the good. So we're finding the goodness, and hopefully we'll become better on the other side.
Yeah, so it's a really great segue right here into maybe one of the first questions we want to talk about. You know, you had brought it up about embracing the suck and finding the good. And I think one thing that a lot of coaches are maybe going through is this process of trying to coach differently, trying to coach better, trying to find that different type of framework, because as we all know, coaching in person and getting those live reps is quite different than maybe providing feedback behind a video screen or a computer or maybe an audio message. So I think for this one, I'd like to really explore maybe some of the differences you may have both found in your own coaching style. And I want to go with Coach Anna first. And because obviously with track and field, cross country, you have objective measurements, right? You know when PRs are set, you know the times, you have critical measurements and standards that you can kind of go back to and saying, you know, did we improve? And so I'm curious to know, maybe how has this changed your approach to coaching, where you don't have the official meets, you don't have the events that you can actually get a first, second, or third or points for your team? How has that maybe affected how you're working with your teams now?
Yeah, it's obviously really devastating that we don't have this outdoor season, but for the most part, like, it's very fortunate the distance runners, they've been able to have at least 2/3 of their year with competing with cross country and indoor. But to be honest, we've actually taken a very different approach to really with my coaching and training right now, whereas we're really not focusing on the specifics of here's your training plan and this is what a race that we're training for. We're actually using this as almost like a little silver lining there, that this is the first time that they aren't in season all year. And that now they have this large block of time to really get ready for the fall season, which we don't usually get. And some people could have been rushing to get ready for a championship meet. That it's crazy to think that would have happened. Actually, we would have had the conference meet coming up this weekend. But now people really get to refocus, and we've actually had conversations in team meetings about learning more about the sport and distance running, and focusing on areas that, like, individually what they really need to improve on, whether it be the mental side of things, whether it be, you know, their aerobic system, and thinking about what it is they want to work on over these next few months, and more talking about it and becoming more students of the sport rather than thinking about, okay, this is the workout that I need to do and this is the pace that I need to hit. And just focusing on, you know, school is a priority right now for them. And I think we left on a note where it was kind of like, remember why you started running in the first place. You know, you didn't start necessarily just to compete for a championship. You didn't start necessarily for a specific time in an event, but you started running because you really fell in love with the sport. And they're so fortunate that with our sport, really all you need is sneakers. You know, you can get outside and go wherever, you know, with music or without music. And by the way, Coach C, I listen to music now. But that's the thing with how great our sport is, that just go outside and you know, be with yourself and get to know yourself more and just enjoy what it is you get to do without the stress of having to always race every single weekend that they're used to, while also being the student that they are.
Yeah, I love that. And Dr. Milano, you can maybe speak to this as a sports psych practitioner, but you know, what I'm hearing a lot is obviously removing the focus on the outcome, right? When we talk about this goal setting framework and really embracing the process and some of the individual performances and this whole white belt mentality, right? Like always a learner, always growing. And as a performance coach, I can always appreciate that because now you have more time to prepare. So Dr. Milano, anything to add to that in terms of, you know, how her outlook, I should say, is pretty positive right now?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that your response makes me think of is that we're kind of pushing athletes to think about the motivators that might not be forefront when we're actually with our peers and our teammates. So we're kind of digging into the skeletal part of what we do to the most original start. And I think that that's kind of awesome because it might light a fire that's kind of going dim. So I think that that's one thing I took from what you're saying, and I think it's an awesome approach.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to be hungry for this fall season coming up in the next season. So.
Heck yeah. What's a term Coach Shalong used at one point, Coach C? The hungry dog fights harder or something like that?
Oh, it's harder.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about that. So Coach Anna brought up a good point about, you know, having not a lot of equipment, right? Maybe just sneakers and in her case right now, maybe some earbuds. So hopefully she's pushing through those 20 milers. And I am victim of seeing that, dropping my kids off at preschool. But now shifting to maybe a sport like football, Coach C, you've got one of the largest staffs on campus, a program that's really been driven by the graduate assistant program at Springfield College, which has done a phenomenal job over the years. And one thing that I've seen is, you know, this opportunity for these newer coaches, right? Maybe going through their first spring ball. You've got some outgoing coaches on their way trying to find jobs. I'm curious, maybe from a coaching perspective and managing such a big staff is, how have you adapted maybe your coaching development and managing a staff without getting these live reps, right? So you don't have the kids getting the reps in practice, so you can't teach the coaches what to look for and you're not on there. I'm curious on how you've adapted to this online coaching model for such a big team.
It's definitely interesting, but again, I think we find out a lot about ourselves. Obviously, we've had to learn a lot of new technology that we didn't know 6 weeks ago. And I said at the beginning, I said, you guys don't remember any of this, but as far as our young coaches and whatnot, but Zoom used to be a TV show. Now I'm using it to be able to talk to you guys in person and things like that. So I liked it much better when it was a TV show. But I think we've always kind of approached it with our younger coaches is that every rep matters, you know, and so, okay, let's gain something from this. But our motto when we would educate them on how to coach is teach them, show them, let them, motivate them. Now it's obviously a little bit harder with doing that because we're teaching and we're using chalkboards that aren't very good on the Zoom and different things like that. And we're on a DV Sports system that, you know, sometimes can work really well and other times is a little bit glitchy based on your internet connections and things like that. So, you know, we're adapting to a lot of different challenges along the way. But again, like we tell them all the time, is overcome those things and attack whatever we can. So we're going to get something out of that experience. So if the computer breaks down, okay, sudden change, what are we doing? Right? Start to talk about something else. Let's build relationships. Go back to always the thing that we find the foundation of the program on. So there's always going to be that kind of that safety net that you can always go back to, just talking to your kids and getting to know them a little bit better if there's some glitches within the system. But our coaches have done a great job. And I think one of the things is we would always videotape our coaches anyway so they could watch it back. Now we're doing it all the time, and we're really getting to watch it back. And similar to what Anna was talking about, as far as we're also taking a step back and really educating them about the game of football and why it was started. You know, some kids didn't know why it was called a gridiron, and you know, so kind of some of the nuances, and kind of we went back to, hey, let's go back to football 101 and teach them the rules of the game, and let's teach them the fundamentals and some of the things that you go over very quickly in preseason because it's go, go, go. Now it's slow, slow, slow. So let's educate them on some of the other things that I think, and they're starting to learn, and it's like, oh, and they're picking up a little bit more that I think is going to benefit them down the road as a player, you know, because they'll know a little bit more about the game. They'll know a little bit more about what the guy next to him, the guy in front of him, behind him might be doing as well. And then we tried to create an environment within all of our meetings that less is more, so that they always want to come back to another meeting, okay? And it's not that attitude, and I know Coach Veit always talks about that, I have to do this. No, I get to and I want to. So we want to create that environment within every meeting as well. So it's not all just football. And again, similar to like what Anna was saying, is we always, you know, again, everybody that find your why or whatever, but, you know, type of mentality, but always trying to, you know, search, allow them to search. So why do I love the game so much now? You know, and why am I sitting in these Zoom meetings, and why am I lifting, you know, it might be milk cartons or whatever the case may be, you know, so that I can stay in shape to get ready for the fall because I love the game and I love being a part of something, you know, as far as, you know, a brotherhood or whatever the case may be. So, you know, again, we've always just continued to try to find the positives in what we're doing. We try to continue to educate our coaches, and every rep matters, so that, and we're watching the video back to them and how they can become better teachers, because even though the video might not work, they're still going to be able to express themselves. And they still got to be able to, you know, use their voice tone and enunciate words and project to an audience. So we're able to really learn a lot about our coaching styles and how we present to the kids in a different manner. But again, we're still using it as a learning opportunity.
Okay, that last point puts us on the spot, huh, Adam?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I hope you take it with it and run with it as fast as you can.
Well, I think my next question, I think you may have actually answered it in a way, but what it sounds like both of you are doing is really boiling your sports down to the bare bones, basic level, figuring out why your athletes love what they do. And if maybe that hasn't been very present before, you're taking this as an opportunity to do so. And so I think that's a great outlook, and you all sound really comfortable about that approach. But one of the things I want to do is give you both the chance to pat yourself on the back and highlight things that you think you're doing really well with this new normal. And it's been a transition, it's been an adjustment, and I know we're finding our rhythm, but is there anything in particular, a specific behavior or a strategy that you've been using with your athletes and staff that you think has worked very, very well? And we can start with Coach Steinman, if you'd like.
To be honest, I mean, I think, you know, we're all doing the Zoom meetings. We're all trying to connect that way and stay connected. And I think we've been doing great with that. I know Coach Miller, our head track and field coach, also coordinated like a whole team trivia, and we're going to do those semi-regularly. So it's a good way to get the entire group together, which is fun. But like really outside of the Zoom and all those different virtual communications, and we've been really trying to honestly talk about just whatever's going on in their schedule, like whatever's going on at home too, whether it be like, hey, what'd you cook with your family tonight, and just posting recipes and and photos, and just keeping like the conversation really light. And there was one day when everybody just started posting photos of their pets doing, you know, like a cat sitting in the sun, or like, you know, a lizard sitting in the cage in a hammock. So just keeping the conversation really light. I think that has been something that just nobody really tried to do that. It's just happened. And I think it's kept everybody like in a pretty positive mindset, and not really just like thinking about the actual like reality of like that we can't be together and we all can see each other in person. And I think that's a good way to just really get through this time right now while staying connected.
Great. I think that that's something that we've heard. Adam, you can chime in too if you'd like. We've heard people, you know, talking about their relationships with their athletes, and then the relationship among their athletes as a crucial thing to be tapping into at this point. And, you know, previous coaches that we've talked to have also said, you know, various strategies that they're using, and it sounds like similar approaches. And your point about, you know, putting out something that's positive, it sounds like it's just a need for us right now that we may not know that we have, so we just are innately doing. And Coach Cerasuolo, do you have anything you want to pat yourself on the back for?
I'm not big into doing that, so I'll say this as far as like, I'm very fortunate that I've always learned from some great people, is that surround yourself with great people and great things can happen. So we've got an unbelievable staff that are a lot smarter than I am and are very creative and think up of a lot of great ideas. And most importantly, we've got a great group of kids that believe in what we're doing. And I think what has kind of resonated with me over this time is that the type of kids that we have, because they believe in the culture that we've established, that, okay, and we're going through this right now, all right, but again, we've kind of embedded that thought process is that, you know, time waits for no person type of mentality. So we better grow during this time period, and we better get better during this time period. So our kids believe in what we're doing. They've been awesome. I think all the credit goes to them, because similar to, you know, what Anna was talking about as well, is the kids come up with a lot of different creative ideas, and they branch off in a lot of different directions, and they're able to still communicate with each other and having fun in the same time and token with it as well. But I think this really, really starts to identify a culture that they feel comfortable enough to be apart from each other, but be with each other. And, you know, not to steal a line, but events plus response equals outcome, and our kids are responding the appropriate way.
Yeah, so the effort you put into your culture early on is going to make transitions like this a bit easier, if possible. You know, so it sounds like that's being done in your program. So a follow-up question, and this one's a little bit kind of turning the conversation just a little bit. We know that termination of seasons and careers, as they have happened here, can be uncomfortable and just not fun for anybody. And so we're curious to know what kind of resources you've provided to your athletes who may be struggling with this transition, or maybe even those athletes whose careers have been terminated. And Coach Cerasuolo, if you have any answers to that, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, again, I'm not an expert in anything, so you try to surround yourself with people that know a lot of things about other areas, and we do that quite a bit within our program, because we do have such a large group, and there are a lot of different type of personalities within the group that you know have kind of some different struggles along the way. So, you know, we've been in touch with a number of people. We still continue to do our brotherhood development every Tuesday and Thursday with the team, so that we're continuing to focus on development of people. But if things become a struggle with them, we want to provide the outlets that they need to help them. And, you know, I feel extremely bad for all those kids, seniors especially, that lost out on that year. And one of the things we've also tried to tell our kids is, if this is the worst thing that's ever happened in your life, and does happen in your life, you will be okay. You know, that you've had to stay inside and be with family and be with people that matter the most to you, you know, and for a couple months, because, you know, I heard a guy say, you know, 6 feet apart is better than 6 feet under. So I think we can all agree to that if we can do our part as far as social distancing and flatten the curve and things like that, we're going to be all right on the other side of it. And you know, again, I do feel badly for those kids that are missing out on those opportunities as seniors, but I do think that if we can continue to just come together with each other and provide the resources needed for some of the kids that might be struggling and not be able to handle it, then we'll continue to do that to help them through this time.
So offering just an outright different perspective is sometimes helpful to those on your team. And Adam, I know you're part of the staff. So can you speak to a little bit of what Coach Cerasuolo is talking about?
Yeah, well, I don't know how much privy I am to this information and what we can give out, joking aside. But what I've really appreciated, and really just a shout out to all of the alums that have extended their support with all the athletic programs right now. And I think that's been really great to see with a program as big as football. Obviously, a bigger program is going to have a bigger graduation rate simply by the numbers. And so it's been really great to see for the kids in the program to see what type of person you become when you leave the institution. What type of job do you have? What type of family are you a part of? What do you stand for? You know, as we talk about legacy, and what are you giving back? So it's actually been really great to sit on the other side now, instead of a student athlete, and actually seeing maybe some of the kids I've played with, and they've grown into, you know, incredible men of high character, everything that Coach talks about in his program, coaches at NFL levels and high level colleges, and really just offering their perspectives and saying, you know, coming to Springfield, staying at Springfield, getting the education at Springfield is really, I'm living proof to tell you it will pay off in the end. So, you know, that's one giant area. I'll pat Coach C's back for him, because I don't know if he can reach back there. What he's done an incredible job with involving the community over so many years of athletics at Springfield.
Coach Steinman, have you had your athletes tap into any resources within Springfield or external to Springfield that you think have been especially helpful?
You know, to be honest, we're on for cross country distance. We're only graduating one male athlete, which it's kind of nice for our group there that it is quite a young group returning. But, you know, he's actually, you know, he's planning on going to grad school, whether it possibly be here or elsewhere. And to have that opportunity to potentially use his eligibility is something that he's definitely looking into. And I think having that as an option really helps them, like, have that sense of that, like, there's still a chance for me to continue and not be completely done. And I think just those outside resources of thinking about where that next step is going to be and where do you want to continue your education and potentially be able to continue that athletic career somewhere. So I think we've had conversations like, you know, you're still part of everything right now. Just because the seasons are technically, you know, terminated or over, the school year's not over. So, you know, until that happens, and even beyond that, when you're an alum, you're not done. You're not done with us. You're stuck with us. So, but really just like using those resources to see what the next step is and where the next step is going to be.
It's never over. It's never over. Well, that's really fortunate for y'all that you only have one athlete who's graduating, but he's also in a pretty fortunate situation potentially for next year as well. I'm going to let Adam take it away with our next set of questions.
Yeah, so again, great serve, Dr. Milano. This idea of next year, and I want to tap into this, you know, both of you as head coaches, both of you with an opportunity, and I guess really a responsibility to, you know, Coach, you always talk about the best is yet to come, but also trying to be present in the moment right here, right now. Have you allowed yourselves, and maybe I'll start with Coach Cerasuolo, to start planning next year, right? We don't know what tomorrow looks like. We don't know what dinner might look like tonight, but, you know, we almost have a responsibility as head coaches we have to have a framework in place, and it's going to change. It's going to adapt. How often do you allow yourself to plan for what's up ahead, well knowing that things they're going to happen as they happen?
Yeah, when we started earlier and you asked about, and obviously them canceling school for the remainder of the year in Massachusetts, it was like, ooh, every day it seems like, you know, we're getting closer to the start date, but farther away from, you know, us being able to start. And so we've been put in some plans and some contingency plans, and probably not as in detail as we'd normally do, because it's like we don't know which direction we're going to go in right now. So we're kind of playing it a little bit right now, kind of wait and see with everything. But we have 3 different plans in place as far as if if we, start on time, and then some of the alternatives. But it has been a challenge, and just organizationally trying to get things kind of squared away. And I know with Anna and stuff, and we've talked about this before, we go to transitional housing and it's like, okay, what are we doing with that? Because now I'm going to pack 300 kids into one dorm, but if there's no, so there's just a lot of different scenarios kind of playing out right now. And like you said, the best is yet to come, but we got to focus on the here and now and make sure we're taking care of business right now. And, going back to some of those standard cliches that control the controllables. So, now it's like all those things we talk about all the time with the team this is all coming out right in front of us every single day. You can't control what's going to happen 6 months from now, but you can control what happens when your feet hit the floor. So let's focus on that.
Yeah, I'm drawn to this kind of an analogy or metaphor about, really you're putting together your own playbook or your depth chart, right? So you've got your ones, you've got your twos, and you've got, some reserve players in the bank. These are these situations that are going to be affected however this start date gets pushed back. And Coach Steinman, you're also a fall sport coach, right? You've got cross country in the fall. Maybe what are some things that you have started to think about, not only just from a coaching perspective, but maybe recruiting or essentially relationships on campus and trying to get all these puzzle pieces to fit together? How have you adapted to that?
Yeah, really with the fall season, until somebody tells me we're not having a fall season, then, I'm planning for the meets that we need to go to. And I'm not really planning training right now, really just focusing on that in chunks. But I am excited for this next group coming in with this incoming freshman class. And that's what gets me kind of excited for whether it's the fall season or for the indoor or outdoor season. I think I'm in a very fortunate situation where, even whatever happens with the fall, there's an indoor, there's an outdoor season as well too. There's really no season that they can't have a chance to compete. So I think really, with all that, it's kind of always just making me excited just to go back with the group that I've had and bringing in a lot of really good talent and great people to that group. But really with recruiting, I think it's just tough right now not being able to do your visits with that next group that want to come and visit campus right now, and not knowing if you're going to be able or when you're going to be able to do that. Because I do a lot of that in the summer, or I would have been doing a lot of that now into the summer and then even the fall. So it's kind of that's kind of the point where you're just all right, when can we just get back to doing that? But I think really just no matter what happens, I'm excited for the group that's coming in to just add on to the group that we already have.
So shameless plug here for Coach Anna. She sold the dream to Springfield College to my daughter's former preschool teacher's son. Had asked about Springfield College. I said, you got to get on campus, right? We always talk about it as coaches. When you get there, we know the hit rate in terms of bringing people is obviously much larger. So we can't get on campus. Really quick, curious, maybe one fun or unique thing you're doing in your program to create that campus experience. So Coach Anna, we're going to throw it back to you.
So right now, just talking to prospective student athletes right now and just getting to know them even more, really explaining to them how they can make an impact and based on what they're interested into and how they can really see themselves on campus. I think the more you develop a relationship with the prospective student athletes, the more they honestly feel comfortable and the more you're able to get to know them. And I think the easier it is to be able to coach them and to get the buy-in and have them fit in well. And we're going to try to do some more stuff with the group as time goes on too, but really just try to give that individual, love them up right now and just try to paint that picture for them of what the campus is going to be like.
Love it. Coach C, you talk about, obviously everything comes down to relationships as Coach Anna described. Any unique tips or strategies that you and your staff are doing to create that moment for people that are interested in the program?
Well, it's funny because this is the time that you explain to all these young coaches as far as within our staff and things like that. We never had all this stuff before. You actually picked up a phone and called. I'd be sitting up at Mount Tom on a payphone, calling kids, talking to them during ski class, with my calling card. That's how you develop relationships. So we don't have the camps and we don't have the combines and everything else like that. So guess what? We're all going to go old school here. We're going to pick up phones. We're going to actually call kids and develop the relationships that way, because that's how they were formed back then. And then the campus will open back up eventually. And And like you said, our hit rate is obviously for all of our teams is once you get them on campus, our kids sell this place as far as just the student body and the student athletes and our facilities and our resources. So yeah, we got to get them here. And so now it's building those relationships and, you know, you find out a lot about your ability to communicate with kids because you actually have to talk now, and rather than just texting and things like that. So I think in some regards, we're going to develop better relationships with these kids because there will be actual more communication with them than, you know, a string of text messages that you can't tell the emotion of the person on the other end of it. So there's, again, some things recruiting wise, I think are going to be better for us because we'll really find out a little bit more about kids than we had in the past, and following them on Twitter and things like that, because we have to have that one-on-one conversation now more than ever.
So I'm going to throw one more at both of you before I bring it back to Dr. Milano with some follow-ups. But this idea, and for all the head coaches still listening with us right now, the idea of an expectancy to model the way, to always have the answer, to, you know, Coach, you talked about the cliche phrases, but to really, you know, inspire the motivation, to rally the troops, you know, Anna, to have the training plan, to be the person, the guiding light, the torchbearer. I'm curious to know essentially, how has that gone for you? Do you feel that responsibility to always have the answers? Have you opened up some sort of dialogue with your coaches, with your student athletes, and maybe it's a little bit more vulnerability. Maybe it's a little bit more honesty and authenticity about like, hey, I'm figuring this out as it goes too. Or do you take another approach? Coach C, could you maybe talk about, you know, how you're working through that in terms of this expectation to have it all, to know it all, to do it all maybe?
Yeah, again, just another kind of foundation within our program. We always talk about it because everybody talks about, do they have it? Do they it? And it to us is integrity and trust. So yeah, you got to be transparent to get kids to trust you, you know, and so it's pretty easy for us because we've always kind of dealt with honesty based. Someone wants to know what we post depth charts, you know, so that's pretty honest right there, you know, and you know where you stand with us. And if you have a question, come in and ask. So we're always going to be honest with kids because I think kids respect that more. So kids are asking, I have no idea. You know as much as I do. So, and they can respect that. And then, okay, that's great. And then we move on because they've heard it before. Like if I don't know something, I'm going to let them know that, okay, we're going to get the answer, but this is a time that, hey, we don't know. And we are, you know, kind of that we're all going to figure it out together here. And, but I think that transparency with them, they appreciate the honesty. They appreciate, you know, that you're being upfront with them and continuing to be upfront with them. So I think the effectiveness of communication right now is so important because lack of communication, obviously, I think is a program killer, you know, and the ability to communicate and communicate consistently with your kids, I think is obviously a building block of any good program. So we're just trying to keep that communication with them. And again, when we're dealing with a lot of young coaches, they don't have all the answers. And we make sure that if you kid asks you something, you don't know it, do not tell them a lie, you know, just tell them, I'll get you the answer. You know, so we have them come back and let's figure it all out together. So, you know, I think our kids are used to that. And we have so many GAs at Springfield College and they respect the work, the tremendous amount of work that our GAs do and their honesty as well with them and the ability for them to work out. So I think our kids get it when we talk to them and how we talk to them and how we communicate with them and our approach within this situation as well, that as soon as we get answers, we're going to give you answers.
I don't want to speak for Coach Anna, but anything else to add there? Obviously, you know, having both a fall and a spring season, you having the importance of communication now just doesn't affect, you know, 8 to 12 weeks in one spot. It's really year round. Have you changed anything or you know, added some clarification to your own communication style?
I mean, I think the communication is obviously like a key to all of this and throughout the year when you're on campus, when you're in person. I think one of the biggest things that I've tried to really encourage more so, like if you have a question, anything, please just come to my office. Like don't just send a text, things like that. And now we have to do a lot more of that. But just keeping that communication open. I think one of the things, like when I started coaching here, especially, you know, it was 4 years ago and I've been coaching for 7 years And at the beginning, like I was still learning. I was still learning a lot about training, and I was attending a lot of different clinics and courses and things that I wanted to learn and help, bring back and make them better. And a lot of that I learned too, I felt like it was important for me to also share with our student athletes, so that we were all like speaking the same language in terms of training and teaching them about, when I say what this workout is, like they know exactly what I'm referring to, but really that we were kind of like learning along the way together and communicating all of that. And if I, just like Coach C was saying, if I didn't have an answer to something and I didn't know, like I got to find it. Can't just make it up, because if you do that, they can figure that out too, and you'll just lose the trust there. So I think that's been like a huge important thing. And I think we're all still learning. And then if we don't want to continue to learn, then you can't stop. You can't just give up on learning and just keep on growing, everybody.
Love that. Dr. Milano, I know you got a few left in the hopper, but just
we're right on time.
That's it.
We're all busy people.
But we're always learning, always growing, and appreciating this pause button of accepting where we are. But this is, as we've talked about, the way we are right now. So let's continue to roll with it. So, Dr. Milano, what else you got for us today?
I want to leave you all with an opportunity to give anything else you want to give to the audience, coaches, student athletes, any administrators at Springfield College, any parting thoughts or advice that you want to give to your community here. Coach C, we can start with you.
Well, I always just go back to trust the process. We got a lot of great people at Springfield College that, again, are working extremely hard, whether it's resources like this and podcasts or whatever, or the administration, the athletic department, to provide the best possible experience for our students and our student athletes. So again, trust the process. We'll be better on the outside and after this.
That's a healthy perception and a healthy outlook, if you ask me. Coach Steinman, thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like right now it's a really good time to kind of tap into those hobbies that you might have that you might not always get to do, and things that just make your overall well-being just even better. And obviously being a cross-country and track coach, like I'm always going to advocate going outside and or even inside workouts, or just staying physically active and fit there. But I think at least for our student athletes and even our faculty and anybody, that the more mentally healthy you are too, and by doing those things that you enjoy doing, like the better you're going to be at doing your job and performing at your sport. So I know personally, like I've used this time, I don't even know how many weeks it's been now, to be honest, but to really just get back into doing things and spending the time to like drink my coffee and read a lot of books and walk and do a lot of extra things that I don't always get to have the time to do. And I think it's made me really take a step back and appreciate everything. And I think we're all going to be able to do that and appreciate what we have and what we get to do when we all come back through on the other side of this. So I think that's what I would really just kind of want to share with everybody.
Yeah, so take a little time to recharge and refuel a bit so we can start up soon. Yeah.
I have one quick question for Coach Steinman. So even though the marathon wasn't run this Monday, did you go run a marathon Monday?
No, I didn't. Did not.
I will say we have a student who this will now be her second marathon canceled in a row. Oh. And I told her, I said, hey, you figure out your 26.2, you tell us when it is, we'll be on that route cheering you on.
Go do it.
Coach Steinman, if you want to jump on that, we'll make sure you're at least 6 feet apart and we'll cheer you on.
I'll help pace some part of it. I did watch part of they did a rerun of the 2018 Boston Marathon yesterday, so I did watch some of that.
Pulling on some heartstrings, man. All right, last thing, we want to give you all the chance to call out some other coaches or athletes or anybody else who you think we should bring onto our little podcast. So Coach C, who do you think?
Oh, you got to get Coach Sullivan up here.
I think so. He's
ready. Get Coach Sullivan, He was just named the Coach of the Year again, right? So
it's true. It's true. He's a popular guy right now. Might be hard to get him.
Okay, if you can't get him, I guess he plays second fiddle to no one but Coach Webster and Coach DiRienzo then. So.
All right. We'll just keep it going until all coaches are called out. Coach Steinman, who do you think?
I definitely would say Coach Graves. I honestly, I love hearing her speak. I think she is phenomenal. She was one of the first people I met when I got here. I always know that like she's somebody, like if you ever want to talk about something or like, you know, need some advice about something, like she's always got it. So I would definitely think that she'd be somebody that everybody would love to hear from.
We will relay the message for sure. Thank you all so much for being here. Adam, thanks for co-hosting. We really appreciate having y'all. Stay tuned for our next one, and we'll be in touch. You're all wonderful. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Appreciate it.